You're scrolling past another engagement post at midnight. Your thumb stops for a second. Something in your chest tightens. You tell yourself you're happy for them, but part of you is asking, why not me? That ache isn't bad timing. It's an unfinished work. Here's what God is actually doing. Before God ever formed Eve, He gave Adam a garden to tend, purpose first, then partnership. Genesis 2 says God placed the man in Eden to work it and keep it, before Eve ever entered the story. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. God builds the inside before He sends the outside. God isn't withholding your spouse. He's finishing your foundation. Think of it like a house. You don't move furniture in before the foundation cures. If you do, everything you place in that house eventually shifts and cracks. A marriage works the same way. Whatever isn't settled in you gets carried into the relationship. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He gives you the desires of your heart." Not because delighting in Him earns you a spouse, because something in you changes when He becomes the center. But here's where it gets real. You can pray for a husband and still flinch at trust. You can ask God for a wife and still keep score from the last relationship. You can look ready on the outside and still be guarded on the inside. That gap is what marriage exposes, not what dating hides. Proverbs 13:12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick." Unaddressed pain doesn't disappear while you wait. It just goes quiet. And quiet pain doesn't heal. It waits for a trigger. So let's break down what He's actually working on. The first thing is your identity. Somewhere along the way, you started treating singleness like an incomplete sentence. Colossians 2:10 says, "You are already complete in Him." Not you become whole when someone finally chooses you. Already whole. Looking for someone to share that wholeness with. Then there's how you're handling the wait. Forcing connections because you're tired of waiting. Ignoring the quiet warning signs because at least it's something. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says there's a time for everything. Not desperate enough to force it, patient enough to trust the timing. Then there's the comparison. You like the photo, then quietly mute the account so you don't have to keep seeing it. Galatians 6:4 says, "Test your own actions. Don't measure them against someone else's." Not comparing your chapter to theirs. Trusting that yours is still being written. Let that land. Then there's what you're still carrying. The last relationship ended, but the bracing for impact never did. Hebrews 12:15 warns about a bitter root growing up and causing trouble. Not protecting yourself from getting hurt again. Healing so you stop expecting it. Then there's what you're doing with this season. Late nights numbing out instead of building the life you'll actually bring into a marriage. 1 Corinthians 7 talks about undivided devotion to the Lord in this exact season. Not killing time until life starts. Building the person your future spouse will marry. But it doesn't stop there. Then there's who you're asking to complete you. Quietly expecting a future spouse to fix what loneliness and self-doubt have been doing to you. Psalm 16:11 says, "In His presence there is fullness of joy." Not waiting for someone to make you feel whole, already full, waiting for someone to pour into. And then there's the one most people skip. How thin and rushed your actual time with God has gotten while your prayers for a spouse stay detailed and specific. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek first His kingdom." Not asking God for a person more than you actually know God Himself. Know Him first. Everything else follows from there. Sit with that for a second. Here's what this looks like this week. Tonight, name the one thing on that list that stung the most. Don't polish the prayer. Just tell God the honest version. If it's unforgiveness, say the name out loud in prayer and release it. Mark 11:25 ties forgiveness directly to a healthy prayer life. If it's your time with Him, give Him 10 unhurried minutes before you give your phone any of your morning. What begins to shift isn't the waiting. It's you inside the waiting. So if you take one thing from this, remember Philippians 1-6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." So pick one thing from this list and bring it to Him honestly tonight. Just one. This is Faith Applied, and we exist to help believers close the gap between what they believe and how they actually live. If you want to know exactly what not to carry into the marriage He's preparing you for, my video on 6 habits you should never bring into a marriage is the one to watch next. If this met you where you are, subscribe. This is the kind of honesty we're building here. Like the video so it reaches someone still scrolling at midnight. Comment the one thing from this list God just put his finger on. Share it with someone who's been waiting longer than they wanted to. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're being prepared.